Stories are the truth our youth know. My name is Osadumebi, and every week I usually tell you a short story written by a Nigerian writer or author. But in celebration of the first year anniversary of this podcast, I'm launching Series Week, where I tell you stories over the course of 2 or 7 consecutive days. Basically, however long it takes to complete the story. Series Week will occur about once a quarter, and the stories featured will still be written by Nigerian writers and authors, and will either consist of a sequence of related episodes from one story, or a set of stories linked by a common theme. That's the long and short of it. So without much ado, today's story is by Sophia Ajibola, and it's the first part of the story titled The Independence Walk. Listen in tomorrow for the concluding part.
Bring another round for the table! Another round!
Shina yelled, signaling to the barman at the other end of the bar. Temi shook her head in the way girlfriends do when their boyfriends were being obnoxious. It didn't make a difference to the fact that they loved said boyfriends. Temilade could excuse him for being loud. It wasn't uncharacteristic of him, but today was exceptional. Today marked the end of his youth service, which meant he'd been formally thrust into Nigeria's workforce. Not that being officially eligible to be part of the workforce was to be celebrated, as Temi was still actively searching for a job since finishing her service the year before. But Shina was a petroleum engineer, and the big oil firm he'd interned at during his service year had decided to retain him. The beyond competitive salary was extra topping on an already luxurious cake. It wasn't every day a Nigerian youth landed a job so easily. Temi really could excuse his loudness. Shina was glad to be done. He'd promised himself this week of merriment as soon as he officially became an office man. He deserved it. After spending 7 years at university for what on paper was a 5-year course. Then spending the first 2 weeks of his service in the northern part of the country, which worried his family no end and made him their main prayer point even though he assured them he was all right. Then came a year of wearing the white tee and khakis and having people in his area refer to him as Mr. Copper. Although the bar was loud and crowded, the barman had heard Shina, and he promptly arrived to their table with chilled bottles of beer. Shina thumped the barman's back, laughing heartily. "Good guy. You are a sharp guy. Thank you." He waved his hand around the table, gesturing to his friends who'd come out to celebrate with them. Share it round. But after this round, you will bring my bill, make we dey go." Shina turned to Temilade, his brows raised in question. She nodded silently, quite grateful. Last year, when she'd completed her own NYSC, Shina had kept the party going till past midnight. She was pleasantly surprised he was willing to call it quits at just 9:30. "Oga, make I bring another round of isiewu, abi goat meat pepper soup for una?" The barman asked Shina. "You want make I finish all my money for here, abi? We don't already buy all your canteen finish. Get deep behind me, set and no jare." Shina joked, pointing at the empty plates and bowls littering the table. He pushed a bottle to Temilade. "Drink now." "You know I do not like alcohol," she stated. He knew, but he never stopped goading or teasing her when she stood her ground. Everyone should drink away their worries, was Shina's slogan. It's just stout, baby. See, even Feisara is gulping the Gulda like a man. Feisara is gulping the Gulda like herself. Temi rolled her eyes at him. Since he teased her about her holier-than-thou attitude to alcohol, she could correct him about his once-in-a-while sexist comments.
Amen!
Feisara shouted as she leaned over her boyfriend Muyiwa, Shino's best friend, to grab another bottle. Temilade turned to glare at Feisara because the girl was going through bottles of beer at lightning speed. She drank like a fish, but she hardly got noticeably drunk or hungover. Muyiwa was like Temi. He nursed his beers like babies and could make one bottle last the entire duration of a night out. Anything over 2 bottles and he started misbehaving. Shina had once joked that God had switched Feisara and Muyiwa's private parts, a joke which Muyiwa had made him pay for. 30 minutes later, their party of 6 was ready to leave. Stella, who had been Shina's coursemate and had also just concluded her NYSC, stopped them as they made to leave. I have to take a video for my snap, she announced excitedly. The bar was strategically lit, with just enough light to see, but dim enough to give off a cozy, sexy ambience. You couldn't exactly make out individual faces, but you could tell who was who from silhouettes. That and the empty bowls and bottles on the table was enough proof of a lit night out.
We what?
Shina chanted when Stella started the movie.
We move.
The table chorused in unison, dissolving into laughter afterwards and drawing a few stares. Abeg, let's get out of here before they chase us out, Shina said. The couples walked quietly to their parked cars, save for Shino, who sang,
We are going higher. We are going higher.
so loudly and so out of tune. His energy was infectious, and soon they were all singing and dancing shamelessly in front of their cars. When they stopped to laugh, Temilade looked over at Shino. This was one of the many reasons why she loved him. His ability to make her lose her self-consciousness at any time and just be. Just live. Laugh. Be happy. He caught her staring and pulled her in for a deep kiss. They didn't break apart until Stella cleared her throat loudly.
That was the 3rd time, guys. Get a room.
Stella said, feigning seriousness, but there was laughter in her voice. She and her boyfriend Doro exchanged hugs with Shina and the others. Shina pumped a fist in the air.
We move. Onward and forever.
Stella replied, raising her fist and getting into her car. The remaining 2 couples were sharing a car. Muyiwa would be driving since he was the most sober. Shina called shotgun, and the ladies got in the back, and soon they were on their way. They had a long drive ahead. Shina had chosen a bar he'd heard of from a co-worker, which was miles away from where they lived. Shina liked to try new places. Muyiwa and Feisara planned to crash at their place that night. Shina put on the radio. Cool soul music serenaded the air, and Temi positioned herself to sleep. The car slowed, jolted to a halt, and Temi stirred. Groggy, she half opened her eyes and mumbled, "Are we home?" She made no attempt to get up. If she stayed in place, Shina would come carry her upstairs. "Good evening, officer," she heard Muyiwa say. Officer. She sat bolt upright. Beside her, Faisara was sleeping and snoring lightly. Alcohol made her sleep like the dead. Your papers. Let me see your papers, was the gruff response. A flash of light met her eyes. She winced and ducked her head, avoiding the beam of the officer's torch. Sheena switched on the overhead light and began to rummage around for the car documents. See how this guy is smelling. Where are you coming from? The officer scrunched his nose, his words dripping with disdain. Timmy could see Muyiwa bristle. He did not like being spoken to rudely. Seated directly behind him, she stretched her hand and patted his shoulder to placate him. The officer noticed. Leave him now. Sure you want to fight me. You think because you dey drive car now you be big man. I go show you pepper today. Get down from this car, now! I say get down! Sheena intervened. Officer, no one said anything to you. You asked for papers and I'm searching for them. No one is challenging you. His voice was firm but polite. The officer was not appeased. You think I'm joking? I say all of you, get down now! He tried to open the doors, but they were locked. This only fueled his anger. He shone his light in their faces again. You think I dey follow una play? Get out of this motor! He shouted, pounding on the side of the car. Officer, calm down now! Muyiwa responded angry. He turned to Shino. Guy, where are these papers? Temilade, do you know where my car papers are? Shino was getting frustrated. It's in the boot. I left them in the boot yesterday by accident. You guys, calm down. Muyiwa, do not say anything. Unlock the doors, open the boot, and calm down quietly. Not a word from anyone, Shino instructed. Temilade opened the door and stepped into the chilly night air. There was another car stopped in front of theirs and 2 officers were by it. She turned to face the officer, shining his torch into her eyes, rubbing her clammy palms together. See your dress. You be a shawo, he said. She ignored him, her fear replaced with irritation. She'd worn the wine micro mini bandage dress because Sheena had said she should look sexy. It was short, but whose business but hers was that? I say all of you should get down. Who be that one for back? He asked, pointing at Faisara, who was still sound asleep. That's my girlfriend. She's sleeping. She's not feeling fine. Muyiwa said brusquely. You are a liar. This one that is smelling like brew is so. Wake up, Ja, or I will wake up for you. I see no reason why you should do that, Muyiwa challenged. He will show you the papers and we will be on our way. I don't even know why we are outside the car right now. In an instant, the officer's flashlight was replaced with his rifle. Oh boy, you won't fight me, Abi? He yelled. Officer, please! Temi screamed, raising both hands. Please! I will wake her up. I will wake her. Temi turned to the window, her heart pounding so loud in her ears and her stomach churning she felt like throwing up. Faisara! Faisara! Even Temi knew it was an effort in futility. Faye was dead till at least midday. I have found the papers. Shino announced, drawing attention to himself. "Officer, here you go." He stretched out his hand, but the officer didn't collect the papers. "Who owns those laptops?" The officer asked, peering into the boot of the car. Shino's heart sank. In his haste, he'd forgotten to close the car boot. The other car had been let go and the remaining 2 officers were walking over. What is happening here?" One of them, a pot-bellied bald man, asked. The other one was real thin, and his uniform hung limply on him. "Come and see," the first officer said. Both officers drew close, peering into the boot suspiciously like there was a dead body in there. "Round them up. They are Yahoo boys. We'll take them to the station," the pot-bellied one declared. "Seize those laptops," the thin one added a little too eagerly. Shino moved to block the first officer when he reached for the laptops. His MacBook Pro was in there and no one was going to manhandle it. Muyiwa, who was a programmer and had been coding on the ride to the bar, also moved to block the boot. His laptop was in there as well. The third laptop was Temi's. She'd taken it to watch movies on the ride. Temi had never felt more scared in her life. Her heart was pounding at a crazy rate, and she was rooted to the spot in fear, shaking like a leaf. The darkness of the night intensified the dread surrounding the unfolding drama. There were no cars on the road, and 2 of her favorite boys in the world were facing off with 3 angry officers. She wanted to tell them it was not worth it, but she didn't want to make matters worse. So she kept quiet and looked on helplessly. She watched the pot-bellied officer shine his light on both boys, taking in Shino's Rolex, car documents still in his hands, and his Italian shoes. Muyiwa's uncombed hair, his gold necklace, a gift from Feisara, his bracelets and Nike slides. The pot-bellied man nodded once, as if he'd just received a message from God. "They are Yahoo boys," he repeated. "Monday," he faced the officer who'd stopped them. "Arrest them." Shino had had enough. "We are not Yahoo boys. You stopped us on our way to our house. We were not speeding. You asked us to get down from our car. We complied. You asked for my car documents. This is it. You have not searched me or my friend, and have not checked my papers, but you have somehow concluded that we are Yahoo boys. We know our rights, and this is bullshit." With that, he turned to shut the boot. Temi was certain she had an out-of-body experience, because everything after Shino turned around to close the boot was otherworldly. She heard a gunshot. She couldn't tell which officer fired. Shino crumpled to the ground like a sack of rice. Feisara woke up with a blood-curdling scream, and Muyiwa started shouting. "You shot him! God damn it, you shot him! Why? You shot him!" Snapping out of her daze, Temi flew the distance between her and Shino. She did not see the officers leave. She did not register Muyiwa saying, "We have got to get him to a hospital." She did not feel Feisara pulling her. She sat on the untarred road, cradling her bleeding boyfriend in her wine bandage dress and brown strappy heels, whimpering. No, Shino, God, no, Shino, stay with me, baby, Shino, stay with me, Shino, stay with me, Shino. Sophia Ajibola is a writer who resides in Ibadan, Oyo State. Currently, she's a student studying computer science at university. You can read more of her work on Medium at Sophia Ajibola and connect with her on Twitter at Sophie_AT. Details and links will be in the episode description. If you've got a story you would like to be featured on this podcast, or a published book you want to make into an audiobook, send an email to info@osadumebi.com or send me a message at osadumebi on either Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. I look forward to collaborating with you. And if you've enjoyed this week's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend that stories are a good escape for a few minutes each week.